Isang magandang ika-7 po ng Abril. We're here again para mag-review po ng mga pangyayari. Of course, this week, one of the most significant development is the passing of General Victor Corpus, our colleague here at Asian Century Philippines Strategic Studies, longtime friend of ours, comrade po sa ating krusada para sa katotohanan, an outstanding citizen of humanity, hindi lang po ng Pilipinas kundi humanity ang aking sinabi kasi talagang pinaninindigan niya ang humanism at walang loyalty except to what he sees as just and truthful. Kaya po si General Victor Corpus nung siya po ay kadete sa PMA, siya po ay tumiwalag mula sa gobyerno at sa PMA at tumulong siya sa NPA. Nung natuklasan niya ang wala akong mahanap na Tagalog word for it but sa English perfidy, yung pagka-sinungaling, pagkatuso ng liderato ng CPP-NPA, siya ay tumiwalag ulit at bumalik po sa pamahalaan at sa Armed Forces of the Philippines. Marami naman pong nakadiscover ng ganyang klaseng karakter ng liderato ng NPA, CPP-NPA, sila Jose Maria Sison, lalo na nung sila ay bumaliktad at naging pumayag at nakipagsabuatan sa Amerikano na maging kasangkapan ng Amerikano laban po sa global revolution against US hegemony and imperialism. Well, mamaya po pag-uusapan natin more extensively ang ating mga karanasan with General Victor Corpus, and nasa screen na siguro ninyo yung isa sa maraming episodes namin, siguro naka-5-6 na diskusyon kami ni General Victor Corpus sa aking programa dati sa GNN. And masasabi natin that sa pagtutunggali ng Estados Unidos at China, siya ay pro-China. Malinaw po yan sa mga libro na sulat po niya na ating pinanggagantimpala sa ating raffle, no, sa programang ito at ibang mga programa po natin. He was 79 years old. Siguro just 1 week before he passed away, we had a long discussion kasi nga po tulad ng aking ulat sa inyo, pinadala sa atin yung kanyang supplement, yung pinakahuling yugto, Addendum, Annex, doon sa kanyang aklat na DMAC points and tungkol sa irregular warfare, at saka yung labanan ng China at USA. And ating inaayos nga ngayon dahil po tayo ang magpapadala po o ating ipapublish in our website for those who already have the book and want to update on the last chapter or addendum that General Victor Corpus sent to us to add to his book. So we'll have more about that. Ang sorpresa ngayong araw na ito po ay si Ka Danny Long is now with us, has joined us for today, and we're still waiting for Ka Ado to join us too. But Ka Danny is here to, as I asked him, he said para i-depensa ng sarili niya dito sa BBM Youth na sinasama si Danny Long at binibigyan ng star status ata dito sa mga listahan nila ng fake news peddlers daw. Yan, kasama din si Malindog-Uy dyan, si Maharlika, sila Gov't, Chiu ba ang full name, no? And Gov't, Laureta Chiu, yeah. And sila Banat Bay, and many others, Nagpapatunay lang na talagang marami pong voluntaryong lumalaban po sa kasinungalingan nitong grupong itong BBM Youth. BBM Youth, siyempre, yan po ang talagang mga taga-taguyod ng kasinungalingan ng administrasyon ni BBM. We have a lot to talk about. But let me just greet our early birds. Joylen Legaspi, bago po itong pangalan na to sa aking pagkaalala. Joylen, good morning po, Joylen. Pinoy farmer in Bukidnon, Yolanda Lailo, Osman Zin is with us. Joylen Legaspi is watching from Italy. Mabuhay kayo dyan sa Italy, mga Pinoy and everybody else in Italy. BJ Wakin is with us. Nelson Heraldez, good morning. Mentong, Kadong, si Danny siguro ang Kadong or si Kadyoso, si Ado. BJ Wakin, Radio Ilonggo is watching from Iloilo. Si kasamang June Lohero is with us. Nelson Heraldez, Reynaldo Lazaro, sabi ni June Lohero ng Iloilo, sana mabigyan mo ako ng aklat ni General Corpus. Si June Lohero po, ang Radyo Ilonggo po ay isang broadcaster. Matagal na po nating kasangga, kakosa sa pagtaguyod po ng katotohanan at hustisya sa bayan natin. We will arrange that po, Ginoong June Lohero. Carlos Miguel 18 is with us. Diego Ricarte, I think this is also a relatively new name. May message from Nelia Figueroa. Juanito Yuko is with us. Comedian PBBM Budol Bangag fascist puppet regime must be stopped. I think more and more people agree that it should be changed. This is no longer anything acceptable. Talagang mamaya sa mga latest balita po natin, lalaki ang utang ng Pilipinas, nagtitriple po ang bayad natin sa mga utang natin, and so many other problems are growing by leaps and bounds under the Bongbong administration. Stephen Esteban is with us. Hotsaki, sabi niya, Tatya Hao, Mandarin and Hokkien siya. And Bonnie Tedin is with us. Brian Jerome Pineda, Joe J. Hoxon Algalang, magandang umaga. Kamentong Ado Joshua, bless Corpus' soul, missed meeting. You never met him ba, Kaal? We should have had the chance to arrange that, no? And Bonnie Tellin again here with us. Pa-volume naman sa audio nyo, sir. Ang hina daw ng audio. Okay. Okay. And Jigs Calix 2 is with us. Sabi ni Algalang, the volume is fine on my end. Okay. Jimmy Go is with us. Jimmy Young Goat joins the raffle watching from Cebu City. Okay, Jimmy Go. Can we put up the raffle list up as early as we can, Ka Joshua, no? And Reynaldo Pajalito is with us. Okay, we have not met him, sabi niya. Ni Ka Algalang, hindi pa niya na-meet, no? Nag-chat daw sila a few times by Facebook ba? Anyway, James Moreno is with us. Okay, as usual, we start with our economic update. Yung concern po ni Ka Danny, we will take it up at around the quarter of our hours, in the quarter of our hours kasi po para mas may atensyon dun sa mga detalye, and maybe Kaado would have joined us also. But
Yes,
ito po ang unang, go ahead.
I'll just
Danny.
introduce myself to the audience.
Sige, go ahead, Danny, go ahead.
Good morning po. Magandang araw sa inyong lahat, sa GTNR family. I'm glad to join today. Good morning to everyone. Thank you po, Kamentong, for allowing me a chance to defend myself from these slanderous attacks. Thank you po.
Okay. So it will be a very interesting discussion later on that matter. So government debt payments triple in January mula po sa ulat ng Manila Bulletin, March 31, just 8 days ago. Importante po 'to dahil pinapalaki pa na naman ng gobyerno po ni BBM yung ating utang because they are now proposing ang ating budget itong nakaraang o itong kasalukuyang taon 2024 is 15.6 trillion pesos ata. For 2025, I think they're proposing now 16 trillion plus, above 16 trillion. Samantalang we have budget deficits left and right. Sabi dito sa ulat, the government grappled with a significant increase in debt payments as its total debt obligations neared the 15 trillion threshold, recording an 8% surge. The government's total debt increased to 14.79 trillion in January 2024. Tataas pa po yan, no? From 13.698 trillion in the same month of the previous year. So every year, nagdadagdag halos ng 1 trillion sa national budget. The amortization, yung pangbayad buwan, no, amounting to 84.54 billion pesos, were mainly going to foreign creditors, with local banks receiving only 139 million. Napakaliit po para sa local banks. On the other hand, interest payments in January increased 58% to 74.22 billion from 46.97 billion in 2023 January. So lumolobo, pag sinasabi, marinig nating lumolobo, literally po lumolobo, nakikita po natin in the figures that we are seeing. And in the meantime, sabi nila may GDP growth doon. Lahat pong ng growth na yan po ay sa bulsa po nila Manny Villar at yung mga ultra-rich. Itong mangilan-ngilan na ultra-rich po na to ay may 49 billion US dollars yan, ha? US dollars, so times 56. So trillion po. And of course, sa mga people like Manny Villar, lahat ng yaman na yan po ay nasa lupa. Marami po mga land grab na yan. At yung conversion from agricultural to subdivision, to residential, na napipinsala po ang productivity po ng ating agricultural sector. And that is why we are so import dependent because of many of these real estate developers who are multi-trillionaires, hindi lang billionaires in pesos. But ang growth po ng Pilipinas na laging narinig natin, pinagmamalaki ng administrasyon, anong totoo? Ngayon, the bitter pill has to be swallowed and they have to come out in public to admit that yung mga matataas na growth targets po nila ay hindi po kayang abutin. Pero yung kanilang pinoproject po, kahit binaba nila, ay malamang hindi pa rin maaabot nitong mga tong economic planners kuno, mga monetary board, NEDA, itong si Balicasan. So sabi ni Balicasan, the Philippines has to lower its growth target for 2024 and tinataas niya ang deficit ceiling, meaning tinataas niya yung level ng kakulangan sa budget po natin, and therefore anong konsekwensya nun, anong resulta po nun, palalaking din nila ang pangungutang. So back to the panlolobo ng utang ng bayang Pilipinas. Pero yung mga utang na yan po, ang nakikinabang po ay hindi po taong bayan, walang nakikitang malalaking infrastructure at madaming infrastructure, pero meron tayong nakikitang lumolobong mga bulsa ni Manny Villar, ni Ramon Ang, ni Manny Pangilinan, et al. It's 8:16, si Ado wala pa po, no? So I will see. So yan po ang national budget plan po is 6.2 trillion. That's the next news item. I think there's something wrong here. Kung pesos po yan, national budget is 16, let me check again. So mali po itong headline na nababasa po natin. Palace to submit 16.2 trillion national budget for 2025. Hindi 6.2 trillion, mali yan. So anyway, we already reported that it increased from 15.6 to, well, this one reports 16.2 trillion. Actually, it may be bigger. We'll update po on this data as we go along. So yan po sa economic situation. And Danny, if you have any comment on the economic reports I just mentioned, anything? Not yet, no?
Yeah. Yung
Yeah,
pinagmamalaki po yung administration ngayon at yung at mga supporters nila is we have high GDP growth, right? We have high GDP growth and yung growth targets matataas. Pero do the middle class really feel it? 'Di ba? Katulad nung headline dun sa Daily Tribune, ultra rich Pinoys. You know, they post yung 49 billion in assets. Dollars in assets. So yung distribution of wealth, it's held by the very few at hindi po yung middle class. And the middle class is slowly being destroyed. Wala na po yung middle class ngayon. And hindi po nila mag-afford ng some of them even yung basic na 3 meals per day, wala. Pero gusto nila ilihis yung issue at i-condition yung mga tao para isuporta yung giyera nila sa China, against China. Na sa totoo lang, we could resolve that diplomatically, peacefully. And instead of fixing yung domestic issue, na survey after survey na sinasabi ng mga taong bayan, yung priority nila ay yung mahal ng presyo ng bilihin, kuryente, crudo, bigas. And I think wala pong diskarte, wala pong priority, sense of priority yung administrasyon na po ito. Okay.
Sabi ni Bonnie Telin, lakasan nyo naman po ang boses nyo, Mentong. No? So, yung boses ko. Nilapit ko na ang mikropono ko po dito. Okay na ba? Okay. Sige, still on the economy, umamin na ngayon ng NEDA, National Economic Development Authority, yung si Balicasan din, that West Philippine Sea, of course, that is a non-existent entity, West Philippine Sea, pero gapitin na natin dahil yan nasa headline ng Tribune. West Philippine Sea tension threatens Philippine economic growth. So kung ganyan po, aminado ang gobyerno na yan po ay nakakasira po sa economic growth ng Pilipinas, bakit ginagawa ni Bongbong Marcos? Bakit nagsasabuatan ang lahat ng mga US proxies dito, from Bongbong Marcos to Lisa Araneta Marcos to Martin Romualdez to Zubiri sa Senado at yung buong gang ng mga senador dyan, and then down the line, Tariela, Browner, and so on, nakikipagsabuatan dito sa pag-iigting, pagtitindi, pagpapatindi ng tensyon sa West Philippine Sea na tinatawag. Aren't they working against the welfare and the interest of the Filipino nation and the Filipino people na nagugutom ngayon dahil sa declining economic dynamism ng ating bansa? Hindi ba ngayon ang dapat tawaging traidor ay sila? Ang dapat nating tawaging fake news peddler ay sila, na sinasabi nila magandang economic growth. Ngayon lahat ng katotohanan lumalabas na. And it is going to get worse kasi the global situation is also getting worse. Kung meron lang sanang positibong mahakbang ang si BBM at mga kabinete niya, ay yung sumasamang at lumalalang sitwasyon sa mundo ay mababawi nila sa magandang mga gawain at mga hakbang at pagkikipagtulungan sa Russia sa low energy cost. Si Kadani just reminded us, it's been 560 plus days ba since Bongbong Marcos promised to talk to Russia para makapag-angkat po ang Pilipinas ng murang langis at gas galing sa Russia. Wala po. Kabaliktaran po. Inaaway niya ang Russia. Kinakaibigan niya yung Estados Unidos na wala namang anong maitulong kundi mga second-hand na mga armas para sa Pilipinas. So again, that is established. Yung tension po sa South China Sea ay nakakasira po sa economic growth ng bansa natin. Ano? So let us keep that in mind. When Tariela again comes out, as he has come out, as si Kado is already here. Kado, Danny Long is joining us today. Kado, bumati ka muna, Kado.
That's good. Good morning to all of you. It's April, past April Fool's Day. That's April 1. And double 1 is 11. So there will be a repeat of April Fool's Day on October 11 when the president goes to Washington, D.C. to sign a trilateral pact, of which he has not even divulged to the Filipino people what this thing is all about. Lacks transparency and reeks of a complete disregard of what the people would want to know as to what he's doing with not only with his life, not only with his family, but with the country especially.
Okay, we'll get into that deeper after this discussion. Oh, now we go to the activities and operations of the Bongbong Marcos U.S. group against those who are trying to do what is right for the country. Anyway, let's start with BBM Youth Movement. Danny, ito po, naglista ang BBM Youth Movement now. Beware of fake news peddlers. Sila pang nagtuturo. Narito ang listahan ng mga fake news peddlers. Unfortunately, they are all more popular than the BBM Youth Movement right now. Mas popular po sila. Sino-sino sila? Si Maharlika, Vic Rodriguez, Crisette, Laureta Chu, Jason Sa, Glenn Chong, Sastrogando, Mosason, Pebbles Talakera. May mga hindi ako kilala dito. Mamaya, Danny, maybe you can give us a bit of a background. Coco Locoy, Joy de Viver, Maui Spencer, Pebbles Duque, Ana Malindog-Uy, and then the star, Daniel Long, naka-highlight po, SMNI News Channel, Bagong Lipunan 2.0, Salvador Panelo, Harry Roque, Daily Tribune, pati diaryo sinama nila, no? Naglabas lang ng headline tungkol sa mga sinabi ni Imee na hindi po nilalabas ng Inquirer at Philippine Star. Lieutenant General herbalsfacetalk.com, Ensay Mother, Bagoong Pilipinas, Solids North, I am Sean Wayne, Hampas Lupang Mandaragat, One Bisdak, Hello Kitty, Superman Lenko, Samuel B. Rogay, Aircraft Combat, Banat Bay, Rigoberto Tiglao. Masama ang loob ni Kado, hindi siya nakasama dito. Ako okay lang. Nandyan naman sila Daniel, sila Ana, Malindog-Uy, and all our allies, our kakosa. Dani, sige, your take on this.
Yeah, it is ironic, no? I posted this and I shared this on Facebook. Yung almost universal reaction ng mga tao is sa kanila pagaling, you know? And we know that the biggest spender of fake news is this administration. It is not us. In fact, you're right. Everyone in the list is more popular than them. Nobody's talking about them. Kasi ito yun eh. If may magandang ginagawa ng administration, they will be focusing on that. They will be reporting yung mga achievements ng administration, hindi yung paninira ng ibang tao. And yung ginagawa nila is, this is what the yellows used to do, making lists, cancel culture. And it's sad to see na yun yung ginagawa din nila ngayon.
Yes. Si Freddy Oredina may dinadagdag dito. Sabi niya dapat isama si Captain Dado, si Captain Macaranas, dapat isama ang Iparas kay Paras, dapat isama si Jojo de Guzman at etc. Marami pa pala. Tayo nga ang maglista ng dagdag ka, Dani. Buuin natin ang listahan so we have the complete list of those who are criticizing the government. Kado, masama pa ba ang loob mo?
Well, kasi ito yung mga listahan ng mga taong nagsasabi ng katotohanan eh. So this is really a short list.
Mm.
Ang survey lumalabas 67% wala nang tiwala kay Bongbong Marcos eh. So these fake news peddlers na binibeware nila really represents the majority of the people. So masama ang loob ko dahil hindi ako kasama diyan, no? And
No.
despite their control of mainstream media na sa dyaryo, ewan ko, pinagmamalaki na Inquirer, is the largest circulated daily. Pero palagay ko, wala nang 100,000 ng circulation. Baka 20,000 na lang circulation yan eh. Star, lalo na. Dumadami lang circulation nila pagka binibigay silang libre sa McDonald's o Jollibee. So, bakit sila mag-distribute ng libre kung meron mambuibili ng dyaryo nila? Ang pinakamabiling dyaryo ngayon, Manila Times, no? Yan ang alam ko. But not even, I don't even think that Manila Times is selling more than 500,000 copies.
Yeah.
So,
Well, ang Manila Times ay tinatag din nila pro-Beijing just for presenting both sides of the issue as often as they can, which is not that often too, no? Pero magpapasalamat na rin tayo sa Manila Times kahit na, let's say, I think the ratio is 1 to 10. For every 10 labas ng American and US proxy version ng storya, may isang lumalabas na paliwanag naman mula sa atin at sa mga nagpapaliwanag ng buong larawan ng mga pangyayari, ano? That's good enough. Hindi tulad po ng Inquirer at saka Philippine Star in particular, I want to target. Kasi po, hinihintay ko po na ilabas po nila yung mga sinabi ni Imee Marcos laban po sa mga patakaran ni BBM, ni Bongbong, dyan sa South China Sea at pag-aaway sa China at dyan sa kanyang pinaghahanda daw ni BBM na grupo to prepare daw for the tensions with China. Those are two yung executive order ba yon na nagbuo ng bagong body na sinasabi ni Kaado is just a duplication na naman, no? Administrative duplication. So, yeah, and anything, yeah, go ahead.
marginalized na kasi sila eh. Wala na sila. The social media has taken over the reality of journalism in this country. And so the people really have to decide. Kasi free for all na yan. Everybody's fair game. Free for all na yan kung sino talaga nagsasabi. So the people will now have to compare what they read from the mainstream media and what they hear from mainstream broadcasts and compare it with what's happening on the ground sa kanila. And there is a tremendous disconnect. So the survey says it all. He lost by another another double digit, 14%, and his trust rating is down to 33%. Hindi na nga natin ginagawa yung positive approval halimbawa against disapproval. We no longer measure it na nga in terms of net approval or net trust rating. Doon pa lang sa do you trust or don't you trust? Doon pa lang eh. Makita na natin eh. If your trust rating is down to 33%, then you are just down to your own loyalists. Yan ang masasabi ko. Kasi ang tawag nila sa mga pro-Marcos loyalist, di ba? Ang mga pro-liberal and all that is dilawan, no? That's how they divide the public opinion. But now there is a much bigger, the 67 to 70% really thinks na nabudol-budol sila ni Jun McCoy. I call him Jun McCoy now kasi I don't want to hurt his feeling. Pag sinabi mong Marcos Jr., he really suffers by tremendous comparison. He's really some
Okay.
kind of a June McCoy, you know. We
Okay.
don't know. We
Si-
don't know. Ito yung June McCoy, ito yung napukpok ang ulo, hindi mo malaman kung saan pupunta.
Okay. So, wrap up
I
mo
just-
itong issue. Kaya, Daning, go ahead.
I just like to add something now. For the BBM Youth Movement, I am not going to attack their organization publicly kasi many of those officers and members are my friends, no? Pero ito lang masasabi ko. Many of your officers and many of your members are reading my articles, and some of them don't agree with you placing me on that list. And the only thing I can say is, if I challenge them, prove ano yung sinasabi ko na fake news, and write a response, because I welcome that. Refute what my articles are saying, instead of putting people in lists. That's easy. What's more difficult is challenging my claims. No? Yun lang po.
Danny,
Oh,
it's even simpler than that. You are closer to the fact. That's why you have a lot of readers. Sila, for instance, mainstream media yesterday, I think it was the Inquirer. Can you imagine the headline? Ang headline ng Inquirer yesterday was the Trilateral Pact is not directed at China. So it's a oxymoron, you know. By itself, contradictory. Sila na nagano instead of just express. Why don't you tell the people what the Trilateral Pact that our president will sign? Because the people deserves to know, and the president must be transparent. The problem is he himself doesn't know what he will sign in Washington, D.C. They're still polishing it up. And so if the president, if the DFA cannot even show the public what the president will sign, if this violates Article 18, Section 25 of the Constitution, that says any agreement must pass through a process that even EDCA is violating. And this is on April 11 already, 4 days from now. Hindi pa alam ng tao kung anong ginagawa nitong Pangulo. Hindi ka Pangulo Panggulo ka, panggulo. No? And then on the 28th, EDCA will expire. So what will the president do? If you follow the pattern, he will renew it. And so, hinahanda na namin ang judicial recourse. No? Nahanda na namin ang judicial option para i-question niya sa Supreme Court. Dahil wala this is a big joke that we are in right now. And the sooner the president believes his own sister, the closer he will be to the Filipino people, and not as distant as where he is now, where he himself is out. He's out of the ball game at 33%. And he has put our country pariah to ASEAN. Mabuti hindi tayo tinatanggal ng ASEAN ASEAN should expel us because we have virtually violated the zone of peace, freedom, and neutrality, a treaty that we have signed with ASEAN. And of course, the anti-nuclear, because these Americans will bring in nuclear power. So ano tayo? We're isolated. And as I was discussing with you, Mentong, yesterday, we have become a Cuba. And the Americans will make sure that we suffer the consequences of not being a good tuta, of not being a good puppet. And that is like how Cuba suffered an isolation. Yan ang problema. Our economy will be pushed to the ground again the same way the Americans pushed our economy from 1982 to 84 to subjugate Marcos Sr. The history
Okay.
is repeating itself.
Yeah. Si Nelson Heraldez is expressing sympathies with General Victor Corpus, Reynaldo Lazaro also. A new name here is Marie Claro Barber, pati pala si Lazo, kasinghutan pala ni Kuting Idol, Carlos Miguel 18. Diego Ricarte is with us, Jimmy Nabor, How Extreme MX, a new name again. By the way, nakapost na po 2 things dito ni Joshua, yung raffle registration, please start registering. Lalo na mga bagong pangalan, How Extreme MX for example. Pag-register, Nanay Panuela, please register po sa raffle for General Corpus's book. Ray Vince, nagreklamo daw kung wala ng Chino doon sa Philippine Sista, walang gulo. Well, of course, may mga sumagot sa kanya dito. We'll try to read them when we see them. Sabi ni BJ Waken, Ravens, baka ang tinutukoy mo ay Amerikano, 1,000 taon nandito mga Chinese, walang gulo. Nung sinakop tayo ng mga puro gulo na. Anyway, Jose dito, Villahermosa, isa rin po akong sa nabudol ni Bong bilang nilagay niya. Bangag Marcos, okay. Okay, and Bian is with us. Enrico Abehar, Boy Bangag Marcos resign. Rolando Datuin is with us. Verdan AF, magandang umaga. Pakishare na lang po ang talakayang ito para maliwanagan at malaman ang katotohanan sa likod ng mga balita. Dads Camayo, good morning Dads Camayo. Felino Jr., Mr. Polintan Felino Jr., good morning to everybody here. June Estrada, dahil dito na sa pangalawang pinost ni Kadyo, so let's have a poll. Do you feel the GDP growth? Sabi yes or no. Sabi ni Reynaldo Lazaro, no. June Estrada, no. BJ Waken, no. Pam Dicena is with us. GBS, Pam Dicena says no. GBS says no. Jornel Torres says no. Ayun. Okay, well, let's go on to our agenda again. Now, the next topic we won't really discuss, i-report lang natin po itong undersecretary sa Department of Tourism pala ito, si May Elaine Bathan, kumakalat po ito na pinatigil ang kanyang meeting tungkol sa NEDA, ganyang kaimportanteng meeting para chismis doon sa kanyang kaibigan na nasa Japan na nagtatanong kung anong magandang restaurant sa Japan. So na bulgar po ito dahil po nagkwento yung Regal Oliva ba? Na sabi ni Elaine daw, Bathan, feeding you in Japan is more important than matters of national concern. Mare, ibig sabihin ng no? Hindi ko na i-discuss ito pero ito'y kumakalat kasi it shows the attitude of some government high officials. Itong susunod naman po, itong mga ginagawang walang kakwenta-kwentang mga anti-Quiboloy propaganda ng Inquirer to April 4. Quiboloy na wanted fugitive, okay naman yung headline pero yung litratong pinapalabas ng Inquirer, panira talaga. But of course, we don't take it seriously, but I just wanted to illustrate yung propaganda po, negative propaganda, black propaganda po ng Inquirer. Talagang wala na pong tinatago ang Inquirer ng objectivity at impartiality. It is really used for propaganda, black propaganda against the enemies of the oligarchs that own it, of the United States of America and the proxy, US proxies in the Philippines. Yeah. Ano? Yeah. Okay. Well, yung report ng Rappler nandiyan po sa screen nyo. I also have this Quiboloy in the Philippines just being cautious, sabi ng mga abogado niya. But ang ating lead po sa ating thumbnail po is that Quiboloy mag-anunsyo, I think it's my next Hindi ko makita. Baka later on lalabas sa agenda po natin. Nasabi ni Quiboloy, hindi siya nagtatago, kundi pinoproteksyonan lang niya ang sarili niya dahil merong project ang FBI, US na FBI na dakpin siya, kidnapin siya sa extraordinary rendition. Kaya po siya ay nag-iingat lang, ano. But at the same time, may mga headlines lumalabas today that he just wants some assurances, written assurances, if he is to appear as subpoenaed or whatever the requests are from the government. I'll move on. No?
Tama po si Kato.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Tama po si Kato kasi yung number one peddler of disinformation is really yung CPBM administration mismo. Sino ba nag-release ng Love the Philippines tourism video na yung mga footages hindi galing sa Pilipinas? That's fake news, number one. Number two, yung ni-mention ni Kado kanina, yung EDCA. Remember, yung sinabi ni BBM huling Mayo po, last year, sinabi po niya na yung EDCA ay para sa humanitarian and response and disaster relief, for climate change daw. And that's fake news. Alam na po natin na yung mga base militar ay hindi po para sa natural disaster or typhoon or ganyan. And, alam niyo po yung strategy ko when I write my articles. Inaangkat ko yung lumang statements ni BBM during before the election, no? And kung yung sinasabi ko is what I say is what BBM used to say, di fake news rin siya when he ran on those statements. And yung Mentong, yung pinaka-offensive dun ay sinama pa nila ni Bobby Tiglao, Ambassador Bobby Tiglao sa fake news peddler list. Yung mga ibang members dun sa youth movement na yun, hinihingi pa sa akin yung book ni Bobby Tiglao, yung Debacle on the South China Sea issue. And dati, pinagmamalaki pa nila yung book niya, that they own his book, yung Debunk, right? Discussing yung true story ng martial law at kay Marcos Jnr. So, may difference of opinion kami. It's natural, pero you will slander us as fake news peddlers. I think that is beyond the line na, no? Yun lang po.
Okay. Well, quickly lang po, again, just an update on the situation of this US proxies in the Philippines. Yung Rappler po, may isang major shareholder po dito ay yung Bathan family. Now, I don't know kung anong pinagkakakitaan ng Rappler. Wala naman pong subscription, wala naman pong So, walang kita po yun except yung mga binobomba or pinapump in ng mga Amerikano po dyan. No? So, itong mga investors kuno are really siphoning from those donations ng mga Amerikano. But anyway, Bathan family daw moves Rappler stake, yung kanilang holdings dyan to a public listed company, MRC Allied. I just wanted to update people on that. No? I'll move on. We won't dwell too much on this. Ito po ang pinasa po sa akin ng ilang kamag-anak ko po dahil napanood po nila at pinapasa-pasa daw. I don't know kung sino naman itong Toto Bunyog. Walang kalaman naman pinagsasabi, mukhang komedyante talaga. Pero binabanatan ako. But this is the kind of people that are left to them. Mga latak talaga. Ewan ko kung saan nila napupulot itong mga to. Toto Bunyog, I don't know if anybody has watched him dito sa ating mga kasama. I'll move on. Now we go to the series of mga gawain po naman natin ng mga kasama natin.
Ano pong sinabi ni yung Toto na yun? What did he say about you?
Well, he was reacting to the CGTN interview I had with Liu Xin, yung anchor po sa CGTN, and Einer Tangen, who is a scholar and major personality in China, an American, and Yan of the South China Sea Probing Initiative and so on. So basically yun, at sinasabi niya, hindi naman dapat sumali dyan sa mga diskusyon yan ni si Laurel, bla bla bla, traidor, yung usual, no?
Ad hominem, yeah.
Alhabin na, wala namang laman ang mga sinabi. Tapos pinasok naman yung pamangking ko na wala namang koneksyon doon sa mga pinag-uusapan. At yung kapatid kong, yung pinangpanganay namin, yung bilyonaryo sa pamilya namin, walang, puro chismis ata. I think that's the way to describe it, mga chismis. No? Kaado, ikaw ay na-interview ng SMNI, no? Political analyst, and na-highlight talagang si Kaado with several posts or memes from SMNI. Unang-una, yung sinasabi mong security blanket para kay Bongbong Marcos dahil alam naman ng sambayanan by now na siya ay hostage na talaga ng Estados Unidos. And then the next quote card they have is yung remote sensing na ginagawa ng Chinese doon sa mga Philippine Coast Guard na arkila na mga barko, mga bangka o Philippine Coast Guard ships to detect kung merong construction materials. Can you elaborate on these 2 points that SMNI has been highlighting?
Well, I really lack sleep nowadays kasi last week I had a total of 7 interviews. At makapagdala na ng sarili kong bangko dahil I don't usually do this. I do this only every 10 years. Ako po'y pagod na pagod. At in-insert ko pa dyan, siyempre, hindi pwedeng hindi tayo dadalaw sa ating kapatid na si Vic Corpus kahapon, together with Mentong and Kamau sa Montek. Ito po, ibig kong sabihin gagawa sila ng countermeasure kuno, sabi ni Budul-Budul man. Tapos maglalabas sila, executive order. Itong executive order na ito pala is just a rehash of another executive order ni Noynoy Aquino noong 2011, which is again, which was a rehash. So this is a third version of the same thing, but with very sinister intentions. Dito mo makikita na hindi talaga sila interesado sa katotohanan. Hindi talaga sila interesado sa katotohanan. At sa program ko sa Katipunan Channel kahapon, in-expound ko ito. And I was very critical of 2 provisions of this executive order. Yung isa, ni-retain kasi ni Bongbong Marcos yung portion that deals with accepting foreign contributions. Can you imagine this National Maritime Council, unang-una, wala naman itong function, wala naman itong function, yung council. Kasi the function can be served by the National Security Council. So duplication na, it's an added bureaucracy. Number 2, kung gusto mong gumawa ng isang research center for maritime issues, okay lang, walang problema yan. Walang problema yan. Pero huwag kang kukuha ng foreign. Can you imagine this National Maritime Council will be the what you call embudo of information pertaining to our maritime zones. A1 yan, ang classification yan sa intelligence, no, community o sa information warfare is A1. Tapos kukuha ka ng contributions from foreign sources. So, magiging rappler ka rin yan, getting money from media, Vera Files, getting money from National Endowment for Democracy, Albert de Rosario Institute, getting money from the Center for Strategic and Information International Studies. So anong narrative ang lalabas sa center na yan? Ha? The American narrative. But these are American foundations. Ang hindi karamihan ng tao is that the US has enacted the American Competes Act, which provides billions. Ha? At nabasa ko na yung buong act. May pera sila para influensyahin ang Department of Foreign Affairs natin. May pera sila para influensyahin ang ating Kongreso. Kaya pala may parang symphony orchestra ngayon na tumutugtog. At pinakamalaking pondo nila is of course nandyan, bukod sa military, ay sa Coast Guard na carte blanche sa US Embassy. At pangatlo, bukod doon sa tulong na yun, papasukin pa nila ang educational sector dahil meron silang foundation and designate to counter the Confucius Institute. Panlima, meron hong pondo ang American Competes Act para sa training, no? Para sa training ng mga military at security personnel. So this is really these billions that will go into the American Competes Act, bukod sa pagiging anti-China or shaming China, is really to brainwash the establishment. So yun ho ang problema. Ang pangatlong problema, doon sa Section 6, letter M, dahil meron ho silang dinagdag na 3 support agencies to this council, 3 o 4, yung isa doon is the UP Institute for Maritime Affairs on the Laws of the Seas. My God, this is one of the central sources of disinformation on the South China Seas. Ayun, nasa huli, letter M. Ito ho ang trono ni J. Batumbakal, no? And he has been for more than 10 years. He has been one of the agents of American information war, especially on the South China Seas. Isa ho yan sa mga nag-institutionalize ng arbitral ruling being a victory for the Filipino people, but as we are now, Danny, you, myself, and our quote-unquote, dahil mga traidor daw tayo, and our collaborators are now, including Bubi Tiglao and Harry Roque, we are now saying the same things because we are merely quoting from the arbitral tribunal that has turned yung pala pinakatago-tago nila. Itong arbitral tribunal na ito is against our national interest, and because of that, we have not only lost 70,000 square kilometers of territory, but is in danger of losing 830,140 more square kilometers of our treaty limits territorial sea. Can you imagine for what? To effect an expansion of the seas that the Americans can travel on, because we have converted a lot of our territorial sea to merely exclusive economic zone. Kaya ngayon, nakakalapit na yung barko ng mga foreigners sa mismong coastline natin dahil wala ho tayong ownership ngayon sa exclusive economic zone. Ang itaas po, ang ibabaw po ng exclusive economic zone, ay international waters. So, nawalan po tayo dyan ng innocent passage. So, these people, pala, since panahon pa, and with all due respects to Miriam Santiago, who was the author of the baselines law, lumalabas ngayon na noong i-enact nila ang baseline law, which was as early as 2009, nag-ooperate na yung tinatawag na lawfare and information war na nagbe-brainwash sa Filipino public. Yan ang problema eh. So, ilang taon yan from 2009 to today. This is a 14 to 15 year going on. This information, this arbitral award is a victory. This arbitral award is favorable to the Filipino. This arbitral award protects our national sovereignty. Bullshit. I can show you at least 7 features in the arbitral award that has violated our Constitution. Tapos ito si Pimentel, nabasa ko kanina lang umaga, inaakusahan pa na Duterte, yun daw secret agreement ni Duterte, violates our Constitution. Hoy! Kayo dyan sa Senado, Jingo Estrada, patawag nyo na kami. Patawag nyo na kami dahil mag-hearing daw kayo. Ngayon, kung ang marinig nyo sa amin ay ayaw ninyong marinig at ayaw ninyong mabukos at sambayan ng Pilipino, ang katotohanan na isisiwalat namin dyan sa mga hearing nyo, hindi ipakulong nyo kami, i-detain nyo kami, bastusin nyo kami, barahin nyo kami sa isang public hearing. Wala akong depensa dyan. I'm willing to undergo that suffering of being shamed before television just to speak the truth that yung arbitral ruling na yan ay basura. Yung arbitral ruling na yan has run against the national interest of our people. At yan ang ginagamit na handle ng Amerika. My God, ang Amerika ho, hindi membro ng UNCLOS yan. Pero nagsimula yan sa pag-uusap noong 1955, 1960 hanggang 1982. Pero noong 1982, pumirma yan pero hindi yan nag-ratify. Bakit? Ikinahon niya lahat. The US boxed all of those people who will follow UNCLOS kasi UNCLOS has now become part of the rule-based order to make sure that they have unmitigated freedom of navigation. Wala silang pakialam kung innocent passage o hindi. Basta meron silang 1 or 2 paragraphs yan, gagamitin nila just like delegitimizing the 9-dash line. So, yan ho mga kabansa. Kami ay nagsasabi lang ng katotohanan. Ang PCA ruling po ay nasa internet. Ang hanapin yung original text sa PDF ng arbitral award. Nandiyan po yan. Basahin ninyo at kayo ay mahuhulog sa inyong silya. Mentong.
Yes, and yung kahapon kami nagpulong po ni Mauro Samonte ng Manila Times sa ating kasama who is now 83 years old at kami bumisita kay General Victor Corpus. We also discussed this and I was asking Mauro, anong metaphor na pwedeng mapaliwanag nga na itong arbitral ruling ay isang mitolohiya, isang panlolokong malaki. And matagumpay talaga yung panlolokong ito dahil po sa agency ng mga tulad nila Carpio, Batumbakal, Jabad Haydarian, ang ilang mga elemento ng DFA natin, PCG like sila Tariela. But of course media ang pinaka-determining factor po dito, itong malalaking media. But at least hirap na hirap po sila na itulak pa po yan dahil nandito po tayo para maipagpaliwanag ang lahat ng mga hindi nila pinapalabas. Well, anyway, the next article that I want to highlight is yung article po ni Professor Ana Malindog-Uy, ating lumabas yan sa Manila Times and of course nasa website po natin ng Asian Century Philippines, bisitahin po ninyo. Philippine-China Relations, Confrontation or Cooperation, Gains or Losses. Again, pag magbilangan po kung anong plus and minus ng relasyon sa China at relasyon sa US. Zero po sa US. Ang dami nating pakinabang sa relasyon sa China na napipiligro po ngayon dahil po nahahalata na po ng ASEAN talagang tayo ay wayward na member po ng ASEAN at baka talagang patalsikin po ang Pilipinas dyan eventually. The next item I just also want to highlight kasi po hindi nilalabas ng Inquirer at Philippine Star, hindi hina-highlight po itong mga sinabi po ni Imee Marcos. Samantalang ang naglabas lang naman po as headline dito sa Pilipinas ay ang Tribune, ano? Pero sa labas po, sa South China Morning Post, naulat na po ito. Sabi po ng South China Morning Post, Geoffrey Malterm o Maitem na reporter, South China Sea, Philippines taking a dangerous path with President Marcos Jr.'s anti-China moves. Sister Imee says. So pati po at least itong regional paper, that is also an international paper, South China Morning Post, inulat na po yung sinabi ni Imee Marcos, pero wala pa po, ilang araw na pong nakalipas, wala pa po sa Inquirer, wala pa po sa Philippine Star. Kaya halatang-halata po ang ginagawa po nung dalawang pahayagan na yan na binabasa naman ng ilang mga komentarista o kumaintarista sa radyo, uulit-ulitin lang yung mga lumalabas sa Inquirer at Philippine Star. Yan din po naman ang gagawin po ng ANC at iba pa. At yun ang pag-uusapan nila. Pero hindi po itong ilang napaka-importanting mga public statements from public officials that are more significant than others. And now we go to the article of Rod Kapunan itong Sabadong nakaraan, April 6, at ang pamagat China's plan protects Asia. Ano yung plan? Plan po is People's Liberation Army Navy. Plan po ang tawag po sa Navy ng China. And yung first paragraph po, sabi ni Rod Kapunan, I don't know if Joshua can highlight it, but China's Great Wall of Ships protects the peace and stability of the South China Sea. Yan, nakita ko na, no? Its ingress and egress points from the Indian Ocean and Western Pacific, assuring Asia. The U.S., according to former President Jimmy Carter said, was the most warlike nation in history, and its Western allies shall never again repeat its 19th century invasions of Asian nations. So finally, tulad ng mga statement ni Kaado just a while ago, si Rod Kapunan din po ay sawang-sawa na po sa mga paikot-ikot na walang saysay na mga diskusyon at nilabas na niya ang talagang masasabi dapat tungkol sa People's Liberation Army Navy presence in the South China Sea. Na ito ay proteksyon laban sa US Navy, laban sa US military forces na inanunsyo na ng Estados Unidos na kanilang ililipat po dito sa Asia. Noong 2011 pa, inanunsyo ni Presidente Obama yan, yung pivot to Asia. So yan po ang kaisa-isang major factor kung bakit hindi po magtatagumpay ang balak po ng Estados Unidos na ilipat ang 60% of its naval and military forces sa Asia para ulitin po ang pananakop pananakop at pagwawasak po ng mga lipunan at mga ekonomiya po ng Asia, including of course the Philippines. Parehong nagpahinga muna si Danny and si Ado for a while, so we move on. Yan po, you can see Rod Kapunan's article sa ating website din po after a few days na lumabas po sa Manila Times. Okay, isa sa mga leads po sa ating thumbnail tungkol sa ating diskusyon itong araw na to ay yung durog si Risa Hontiveros kay Attorney Harry Roque. And tiyak na kung tanggapin. Hanggang ngayon po, ilang araw na pong lumipas na hinamon po ni Attorney Harry Roque sa debate si Risa Hontiveros tungkol sa treason, wala pa pong sagot si Risa Hontiveros. Lahat po yan, mga kapanig po ni Risa Hontiveros, hindi po humaharap sa debate. Si Tariela, halimbawa, hindi ho humaharap sa debate. mananakot at sasabihin na magpa-file siya ng libel case labang kay Kaado. Wala naman po, ilang linggo nang lumipas. Ilang linggo nang dumaan. Ganyan din po sa akin, itong mga bumabati ko sa akin, hindi naman humaharap sa debate pag ating hinahamon. Because the truth is not on their side. By the way, may clarification si Raul sa atin po dito kasi nalito nga ako kanina, yung 16 plus trillion ay yung national debt at yung 6.2 trillion po ay national budget. Okay, I accept that clarification. Okay, anyway, yan po si Harry Roque na hinamon na po si Risa Hontiveros doon sa mga paratang po nitong sila Risa Hontiveros. Ganyan din po sila dapat sila Coco Pimentel tungkol dito sa mga sinasabi niya labang kay Presidente Duterte. Itong si Coco Pimentel na hihila din, na i-impluwensyahan din, na nadadamay din po ng US propaganda. But we'll go back to that in a while. So far, wala po tayong narinig tungkol kay sa sagot ni Risa Hontiveros dun sa hamon sa treason na debate ni Attorney Harry Roque. Okay. So now I'm going to our visit to, ito po ang susunod, ang larawan po na aking kinuha doon sa burol po ni General Victor Corpus. Maagang maaga pa, alas 7, dumating na po kami dyan sa St. Ignatius Cathedral sa loob ng Camp Aguinaldo. At na-cremate na po the day before si General Victor Corpus. At yan po, si Mauro, yung isang kaibigan po ng misis ni I think the lady in the middle, hindi ko maalala po, but yung mahabang buhok po na lalaki po na nakaparang barong na informal ay si Jack Corpus, panganay na anak, katabi po ni Kaado, at nandyan yung honor guard. So there are several other photos na kinuha namin, which I have not received yet, no? But that's another photo I took. Okay, and Ka Joshua, can you check if Kaado is coming back to join us? Kasi para maayos ko po ang ating schedule. So, bisitahin po ninyo ang channel po natin sa GTNR, marami po tayong episodes na mahahabang diskusyon. Meron po kaming episode dyan with Celso Kainglet ng Iloilo. I have several episodes discussing a broad range of topics with General Victor Corpus. We will try to feature some of them in our future episodes. Ito pong isa. By Zoom naman ito once sa GTNR din ba o sa YouTube, sa GNN. In-depth analysis of the South China Sea dispute. Now, kung sasabihin po nila at pro-China po tayo, I can accept that because that is also what Victor Corpus would say. Yes, I'm pro-China kasi kalaban natin ng Estados Unidos, kalaban ng Pilipino ang Estados Unidos, kalaban ng Asyano ang Estados Unidos dahil po doon sa mga balak ng Estados Unidos na sakupin ulit para ma-maintain ang hegemony po ng Estados Unidos dito sa buong mundo. Ang rehiyon po natin po ay lumalakas, umuusbong, na mapayapa, wala naman tayong inaaway, pero bakit pa tayo papasukan ng Amerikano po rito? Yan ang nawawala po sa isip at paningin po ng ibang mga Pilipino na nabubulag po ng napakatinding propaganda po nitong mga media po natin. At tulad nung paliwanag ni Kaado kanina, na milyong dolyares, halos kalahating bilyong dolyares po ng America Competes Act. At ang binubuhos po dito sa Pilipinas ngayon. Kaya ating mga gawain po ay napakahalaga po. Alam naman po natin we're operating on a guerrilla budget. ano, eh kalaban po natin kalahating bilyong dolyares po, or how many billions of pesos is that? Ano? Almost 25 billion pesos. Of course, kinakalat nila yan sa buong mundo, pero malaki pong bahagi po niyan ay dito sa atin napupunta. American, nandyan, no? Okay, bumabati tayo kay Noel Hoxon. Pumasok po dito sa isang Facebook page natin. Sabi niya, alam nilang katotohanan pero nangingibabaw ang greed at lust for power and control. Pero ang biggest mistake of these idiots is that they firmly believe of a unipolar world. Ayun. And dito naman po sa kabila, let me just remove the chats. Sabi ni Al Galang, Pinoys eager to fight, arming themselves, etc. ought to realize we should be defending ourselves from the war the US is egging against China by using the Philippines as a battleground. Philippines is not at war. It's the US elbowing the Philippines, aka also known as Ukraine 2.0, if I may add, to wage war against China. And many Pinoys still ignorant of this fact. Media propaganda by you-know-who seems successful in fooling many egoistic siguro, puddinheads. Chris Parr, it's high time for Sara Duterte to speak up against BBM's foreign policy. Kalokohan na nangyayari sa bansa natin. Okay, so let's move on. So, iyan po, saludo po tayo kay General Victor Corpus. Nung nagpaalam kami, sabi ko nga, Vic, thank you. Vic, salamat, mabuhay ka. That's all we said. And that's enough because we know his record and ating pagkakaibigan at pagsasama po. And by the way, again, we're going to take care of his last request from us, which is to publish his supplement. Manipis lang naman po doon sa kanyang huling libro. Kasi nag-update siya doon sa sitwasyon ngayon dito sa Asia. Ano? Ito, yan ang mabuti nakuha ni Joshua. Makita lang natin po yung heading po. US versus China war scenario, February 8, 2024. So this was just a month and a half ago by Victor Corpus at katulong po niya si Cynthia T. Corpus, yung kanyang daughter. I think Cynthia is the youngest of the 3 children of General Victor Corpus. Sabi dito sa first paragraph po ng dinagdag ni Vic Corpus sa kanyang libro, the increasing tension between the US and China had its origin in the early 1990s when the Soviet Union collapsed and the US became the sole superpower in the world. The neoconservatives or neocons at the time, led by US Undersecretary of National Defense Paul Wolfowitz, postulated that the US should not allow any country to attain parity with the US economically, technologically, and militarily. That the US should conduct a preventive war against any country who threatens to surpass the US before said country becomes too strong for the US to defeat said country militarily. Of course, the US is no longer at parity with China in certain areas of the economy and geopolitics and the military. China has now a bigger navy than the United States and concentrated in Asia. 370 warships, floating assets, versus around 290, 300 US Navy assets, floating assets, warships. Pero yung sa Estados Unidos ay nakakalat sa buong mundo. Kaya nga itong mga joint patrol that try to collect the naval assets of Japan, the US, and the Philippines together, hindi pa po yan tatapat po. Dahil po kung kasama ang Coast Guard, pinakamalaki din sa buong mundo ang Coast Guard ng China ngayon. I think it is in the article of Rod Kapunan yesterday, which we just reported to you a while ago. And dun sa economy naman, alam naman po natin by PPP, purchasing power parity, hindi lang po kapantay kundi nalampasan na po ng China ang laki or size ng US economy. Sa teknolohiya, alam naman natin sa electric vehicles, sa batteries, sa upgraded batteries, lamang na po ang China. Nasa waiting room si Kaado. No? Okay, admit na natin. Okay. So, that's an important point, and we're getting it ready kasi i-imprint na namin in the same font and the same font size doon sa na mag-match po doon sa huling libro ni Victor Corpus para ito ay maisuksok na lang ng mga book holders nitong librong ito. Okay, let me move on. Medyo nagugutom ako ng kaunti na after an hour and a half. But anyway, let's move on. This next one is, ayan po ang libro ni Kaado that we are updating with the addendum. So those who have received this, you can, ani Corpus. Anyway, Kaado is with us. Sorry, not Kaado. Okay, next one we'll discuss itong ating atensyon and yung recent announcement nung si Admiral John Aquilino ng US Pacific Command na kung merong mamatay doon sa water cannon attack or any attack daw, attack ang gamit niya ng Chinese Coast Guard. Una-una, kung Chinese Coast Guard, that is not a military ship din, no? So I don't know how this Admiral John Aquilino can say that would trigger the Mutual Defense Treaty. It will not. But anyway, importante po itong post ni Jerry Good. I checked the background of Jerry Good. He's a blogger of long-standing, and sinasabi niya, he's an American, so we want to take his point of view. Kasi alam naman natin ang point of view natin, ito po ang provocation lang po ng Amerikano. Pero this is from American, and sabi dito, very important information from Jerry Good. Of course, the US speeds up the war plan against China. The plan is to encourage the Philippines to continue its infringement and provocation in the South China Sea. The US now again threw the US-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty on the table. Commander John C. Aquilino testified or lied under oath, according to Judge Jerry Good, in front of the House of Representatives that China is becoming more aggressive. He also made clear that in the event of the death of Filipino sailors or soldiers, the Philippines could then involve the US-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty. This is basically the US planning a false flag so that they can finally go to war with China. They plan this right in front of our eyes. The US is encouraging the Philippines to stir up trouble and then to make sure of getting casualties while they are on their instructed provoking mission against China. The US cares nothing for the Philippines nor any Filipino. The US cares only about making money through the military-industrial complex, MIC, and stopping China from rising peacefully. That is from an American. Okay.
Let me say something about
Sige, Kaado.
alam nyo, active na active to si Aquilino kasi he is now siya yung ngayon siya yung marionette dito sa atin. No? Bakit? Siya ho ang commandant na head ngayon ng US Indo-Pacific Command. Dati ho, SINPAC yan. Commander-in-Chief in the Pacific. SINPAC. Ngayon, pinalitan na nila ng US Pacific Command. Alam niyo mga bansa, matagal ko nang alam na malaki ang pondo that the US Coast Guard, the US Department of Homeland Security, the US Embassy is pouring into our Coast Guard. Matagal na ho yan. Ha? Which enabled our Coast Guard to increase from 5,000 before Duterte became president to about 25,000 to 30,000 nung umalis siya. Napalaki ho niya yan kasi importante ang Coast Guard sa ating rescue, no? Sa ating rescue operations dito, especially pagka merong calamities. Pero hindi ko inaasahan na ito po mga kabansa, hindi ko inaasahan na madiscover ko na ang narrative pala na ginagamit ng ating security cluster, starting from the Department of National Defense to the DFA to the Coast Guard to the Armed Forces of the Philippines and up to the President, mga kabansa. Binigyan ko na kayo ng pahiwatig na yung speech ni Presidente Marcos sa Australia ay gawa po sa US Embassy yan. O kung hindi man, merong American ghostwriter, speechwriter itong si Bongbong Marcos. Yung speech niya sa Canberra, yung speech niya sa Germany, lahat ho yan, pati yung speech niya announcing the Trilateral Pact, follows, yun lang ang cohesive message niya. Sa buong buhay ngayon ni Bongbong Marcos, ang cohesive lamang ay nanggagaling sa kanyang pananaw ukol sa South China Sea. So ano ho ang na-discover ko? 4 pages lang siguro, napakahabang briefing paper nito. No? Ito ho ang ginagamit nilang narrative. At nung tingnan ko, mga kabansa, nung tingnan ko yung fine prints doon sa ilalim, sa footnotes, alam niyo kung saan galing, mga kabansa? Ito, babasahin ko sa inyo. US Indo-Pacific Command Legal Operational Law Team. Wow! Sabi ko, ito na yung pera ng America Competes Act. Mamaya ho, ipa-plus namin dyan sa inyo yung tremendous funding ng America Competes Act. That the Americans even increased its 2022 budget from 300 million to 500 million just dito sa US Agency for Global Media Affairs na mother company ng Radio Free Asia, yung pumalit ho sa Voice of America. Pero mas na gimbal ako, mga kabansa. 2 lines under, prepared by US Indo-Pacific Command, Joint Operational Law Team. May nakalagay dito. Includes legal opinions and analysis that does not necessarily reflect official U.S. government positions. Wow! So itong mga may hawak na information war na nagaganap dito, kasi marami ho nagtatanong bakit si Biden nakikipagkaibigan kay Xi Jinping? Bakit ang China nilalapitan uli ng US. Bakit si Yellen? Bakit si Blinken punta sa Beijing para mag-normalize ang relasyon between US and China? Chami-chami sila. Pero pagdating dito sa South China Sea, kulang na lang, magpalubog ng barko nito. Kulang na lamang. May mamatay. Ito ho ang explanasyon. Kasi ang aksyon nila at posisyon nila rito sa South China Sea does not, parte na ho ito dahil ito talking points nila, does not necessarily reflect the position of the US government. What is this double talk? What is this duplicity? Hindi ho ba? So may mga maiitim na aninong gumagalaw. Officially, may disavowal ang US government. May disavowal si Biden. Oh. Hindi ho ba napapanood na natin yan sa sa television, ha? Na yan ang trabaho ng mga intelligence operatives ng Amerika who are doing a separate narrative from the White House, from the US Congress, ibang-iba ho. At yun ay para sa military-industrial complex. So, walang control si Biden dito. We are on our own. The only way we meet again with the mainstream US government is kung magkaroon na ng invocation, no, ng Mutual Defense Treaty. And we are in for a shock. Just as Zelensky was shocked that it took more than a year for his additional replenishment of 110 billion para sa Ukrainian forces against Russia. Inabot ho ng lampas 1 taon at hindi niya nakuha yung 110. Ang nakuha lang niya 60. So ganyan ho ang nangyayari sa atin. Pag nag-invoke ang Mutual Defense Treaty, Mr. Admiral John Christopher Aquilino, magbasa ka pa rin, no? Dahil mali-mali na naman yung mga sinasabi mo sa Mutual Defense Treaty. Pero sa tenga ng mga hindi nakakaintindi, napakalaking bagay niyang ginagawa ni John Christopher Aquilino. Bakit po? Dahil napakagandang pakinggan, mga kabansa. Ang commitment ng Amerika sa Pilipinas ay ironclad. Ironclad. Nakatanim po. Nakasaksak sa batong bakal. Ironclad. Padadala nila si Iron Man dito pag nagkagulo. Hello? Sabi nga ng Pangulong Presidente Marcos Jnr. noong 1982, while you are debating over here in Washington, D.C. on what to do with the Philippines in case of an armed attack. And that means delay, sabi niya. And that means we are already dying over there. O kayo ba mga nakikinig? Hindi kayo makikinig sa tatay nito si Budol-Budol man? Dahil yun ay reasonabling tao, matalino talaga. At nagkaroon lang ng problema nung magkaroon siya sa kidney trouble. Pero otherwise, he was a very good policy maker when it comes especially to our foreign policy.
Sorry, go ahead.
You will be debating here in Washington, D.C. while we are already dying over there. Wow, Kabeto.
Yep, thank you very much for that expanded explanation of all these issues. The next report we have is from Business Mirror. Philippine Coast Guard shows off Japan-made ship equally equipped with water cannon. Okay, inihintay natin na gamitin ninyo. Actually, meron na pong may Philippine Coast Guard ship na may water cannon. Noong 2021, pinakita na po yan, testing nila, bakit hindi nila gamitin. Kasi po gusto nilang magmukhang kawawa sa water cannon ng China. Magmumukhang kawawa pa rin sila even if they have their water cannon. Because kung ang Estados Unidos hindi makatapat po sa Chinese Coast Guard, eh ano ba naman ang kahit na ilang ilagdag ng hapon po dyan ng mga ships. Now, I don't know if Joshua can show this Richard Haydarian post, no? And reposted by G.A. Tariela. Kaya mo ba Joshua? Ano? Kasi dated April 5 po ito galing kay Richard Haydarian na sinasabi po dito dahil doon sa ating mga post din, no, na ang ating point is assertive transparency is the US pro-war hype versus China, and we featured Raymond Powell, US Navy, Gordian at Center, kung saan ang galing po itong plano na assertive transparency galing sa US. Malinaw po lahat na yan. We have all the evidence. Si Richard Haydarian sabi makapili strikes again, not forgetting that he is allying with the Japanese who are the makapilis, if not those who allied with the Japanese. But anyway, ganyan mga propaganda nila. And sabi niya, pro-war daw of Philippines stands up to bullying, question mark, and so on. Nirepost ni Tariela. Well, itong si Haydarian po, bata-bata natin noon kasi we were developing him to see the correct picture, to stand up for what is right, to stand up for what is good for the Philippines. Pero ito malinaw po to, sabi niya, Mentong, kailangan maghanap buhay ako. So doon, dolyares po. At maraming balita na meron siyang Lexus, meron siyang napakamahal kalahating milyon na piso na relo daw, nakikita nila sa mga photos niya and so on. Walang kwentang tao ito, basura itong mga itong Tarielang ito, Darian. Batong bakal din po, ganyan din pong klaseng tao po yan, nabili po yan. So yan. Lagi nating na-interview dahil at saka talagang nakikita naman niya noon yung mga katotohanan kung anong ginagawa ng Amerikano. Pero yan, naging basura na po dahil po natamaan po ng kasakiman. Anyway, let's move on. Too much for that asshole. But okay, yung ASEAN naman napapag-usapan po natin, and sabi po dito ng Global Times at maraming meeting ng ASEAN at China. ASEAN dignitaries' intensive visits to China highlight undertones of regional stability. Siyempre ito ay ibig mensahe din sa Pilipinas na kayo ay naiiwanan. Pero alam po ninyo sa diplomasya, and especially Asian diplomacy and lalo-lalo ASEAN diplomacy, very polite, walang rektang, walang tapatang mga salita. Kung negatibo, puro pahaging lang. At maalala po natin, hindi natin makakalimutan yung sinabi na ni Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong ng Singapore, ano ba kayong mga Pilipino? Gusto ba niyong maging battleground between US and China? So anong mensahe noon? Anong pinagkagawa mo, Bongbong Marcos? Si Anwar Ibrahim, sabi ni Anwar Ibrahim, China is our friend, China is our investor, we have no problems with China. Ang mensahe din yung kay Bongbong Marcos sa gitna po nitong mga appearances ni Bongbong Marcos left and right. Yan ay mensahe. We are independent. Ibig sabihin kay Bongbong Marcos, hindi ka independent sa kanyang mga ginagawa mo. But I think also si Rod Kapunan sa kanyang article kahapon, binanggit niya na ang ASEAN nakikita naman talaga ang violation na ng ZOFAM, Zone of Peace, Freedom and Neutrality, na kasunduan po ng ASEAN, at yung Southeast Asian Nuclear Free Zone na kasunduan ng ASEAN when it was still the Southeast Asian nation. I don't know if it was during the treaty, Southeast Asian Treaty Organization time, but that is an older agreement. So anyway, I'll move on. And it's now 9:36. Malapit na po tayo mag-raffle. Please register those who have not yet registered. Lalo-lalo na yung mga baguhan po. Makikita po ninyo yung registration menu diyan sa ating comments thread, no? Okay. And ang susunod po is a video. Hindi na namin pakikita, but you can look for it sa CCTV channel. Si Anthony Carty, British International Law Professor sa Peking University. And ang kanyang message sa kanyang sinabi, US instigates territorial disputes in the South China Sea for its own interest. So if you have time, try to take a look, or maybe Ka Joshua can post it later on after the show. Posted na daw, no? Okay. So Kaado, you want to add anything before I move on? Let's see. It's now yung na-refer mo nga kanina, maraming tatanong. Habang dito nanggugulong Amerika dito sa South China Sea, kasabwat ang Tariela and Company, BBM, bakit naman ang presidente ng Estados Unidos ay tumatawag kay President Xi Jinping ng China? And ito po ang ulat ng Global Times. Si Biden phone call anchor for stabilizing ties, signals willingness to manage tensions despite growing divergence. Now, napapag-usapan nga namin kahapon sa almusal ni Kaado at ni Mauro itong mga issues na to. And sabi ko, ang China po, ang strategy ng China ay unahan po ang Estados Unidos sa kanyang programa ng pag-aayos ng multipolar world, katulong ang Russia at ang Global South, katulad ng BRICS countries. Inuunahan niya na mabuo ito. Inuunahan niya na mag-advance ang Chinese military and navy ahead of the US. Kaya po ahead ang China sa hypersonic missiles, ahead ang China sa naval warship production, and so on. That is, I think it's in the article of Kapunan, the strategy of China to win the war without fighting. O hindi na maglalabanan. Patataubin nila ang Estados Unidos by being so far advanced na hindi na po forma ang Estados Unidos na nakikita natin pumaporma ngayon, pero alanganin dahil sa kabila naman ang strategy ng Estados Unidos, kinukuha ang tulong ng China para ma-establish ang ekonomiya at financial crisis ng Estados Unidos, but at the same time duro ng duro dito sa ibang mga areas and against China dito sa South China Sea. But China kalmado lang po, alam niya walang talo po ang China. Naawa lang po tayong lahat sa Pilipinas under BBM na isasakripisyo tulad ng Ukraine na ngayon po ay nagko-conscript, binabaan nila ang conscription age from age 27 to age 25 kasi ubos na po yung 27 years old and above. Ngayon, 25 years old na ang nire-recruit ng Ukraine Army para lumaban diyan sa front lines. Kado, come in anytime you want, ha? So, yeah. So, Amerika ulit, no? Tumungo, well, anyway, sabi ng US Trade Secretary, Commerce Secretary ba? Catherine Tai. And this is a report from Russia Today. China's incredible growth threatens American and European Union economy, sabi ng US Trade Chief si Catherine Tai. And sabi ni Catherine Tai, Beijing's non-market policy should be rebuffed through appropriate countermeasures, as if the US don't use the same methods. Natatandaan po natin kung paano nila pinilit na supilin ang paglakas ng Huawei by kidnapping the daughter of the founder of Huawei. Hindi ba natin naalala kung paano nila pinigilan ang pag-unlad ng Japan noong 1980s by way of the Plaza Accord na pinilit nila sa Japan to revalue their yuan para sobrang maging mahal ang mga produkto ng Japan. And so many other cases of harassment economic pressures, political pressures on competition, trade competition. But it shows to me the success of the socialist system, socialist planning, and the revolutionary spirit. Kasi you can be a socialist, you can have socialist planning, but if you do not have the revolutionary spirit, greed will take over, and that is what happened to Russia at one time. Kaya nagkawatak-watak po ang Russia. China maintains the revolutionary spirit, and President Xi Jinping revived it by cracking down on excessive capitalistic spirit like si Jack Ma, yung real estate speculation. Nag-crack down siya, pero ang sabi po ng Estados Unidos, diktador itong si President Xi Jinping. No, that is just disciplining the oligarchy ng China. Tulad ng dapat ginagawa po sa oligarchy ng Pilipinas, yung mga manipangalinan, mga bilyan na yan, dapat dinidisiplina po yan. Imbis na ganyan po ang gawin na tama, kasabwat po ni BBM itong mga oligarchs ngayon. Okay, and as we move on to the other world developments and issues, it's now 9:42, 3 minutes to our raffle. I have to monitor it para hindi po tayo lumampas. Let's now look at Israel. From bad to worse to completely evil ang ginagawa po ng Israel. Two things happened in the past few days. Number one, there's an attack on 7 volunteer aid workers ng World Central Kitchen. Na itong rota na tatakbuhin nitong 3 behikulo po nitong World Central Kitchen aid workers ay binigay po sa Israeli military at inaprubahan po ng Israeli military. Ngunit nung tumakbo na po, isa-isang pinasabog ang tatlong aid vehicles. Hindi lang po yung sabay-sabay, kundi inisa-isa over a stretch of 1.8 kilometers. Nung unang tinamaan, maaring masabing nagkamali lang. Pero nung pangalawa, dahil nilipat po yung mga sugatan doon sa pangalawang sasakyan, around half a kilometer later, tinira naman yung nagsasaklolong sasakyan. Nilipat naman doon sa natitirang isang sasakyan, mga half kilometer or 1 kilometer later, tinira naman yung natitira. Ang mensahe po ng Israel ay walang makakapag-deliver ng pagkain dahil gusto nilang linisin ang Gaza ng 1.5 milyong mga Palestino para ma-convert po ng may nag-message sa kaya ako na-distract. Ma-convert yung Gaza Strip into Israeli settlement. Sa galit po, finally, ng Amerika, dahil po namimiligro na talaga na mawala ang suporta ng Amerika, although at the same time, while minumura na ni Biden si Netanyahu, nagpa-deliver na naman libo-libong mga 500-pound bombs and so on ang Estados Unidos, which really reveals the strategic interest of the US to maintain control of the West Asia or Middle East. But anyway, napilitan ngayon na mag-anunsyo ang Israel. Israel announces opening of aid routes into Gaza. So we will watch to see if this is going to be a breakthrough, and there will be others to follow. But at the same time, ang pangalawang krimen itong mga nakarang araw ng Israel ay yung pagbobomba po sa Iranian Embassy sa Syria. Ito po ay sinira po nitong pangyayaring ito ang Vienna Convention, kung saan almost 100 years ago, or I forget exactly how many years ago, pero matagal na po yung convention na nirespeto ng United Nations ang lahat ng mga bansa na ang embassy compounds of any country in any country is considered sacrosanct at hindi ginagalaw yan kahit na anong klaseng gera. Nirespeto yan as the territory of the country that where the embassy stands. Pero wala pong bale para sa Israel. Tinira po nila to kill several Iranian generals na nagmi-meeting po roon. And so this has been condemned by China, Russia, and many other countries. Hinihintay pa natin ang condemnation ng Estados Unidos and European Union countries. And of course, this is now the reason why all Israeli embassies all over the world has been stopped operating, has stopped operating for a while, waiting for the response or retaliation of Iran. The US also is taking precautions that it may also be hit, but the world is very tense because of this, because this may be the trigger for the Third World War. Although si Muhammad Murandi, yung Iranian expert that I have been following, has said that mas kalma ang Iran kasi itong pagbobomba ng Israel sa Iranian Embassy na to ay sinyales na ang Israel po ay desperado na to try to create a situation where they can pull the United States into the Middle East war para maging world war ito. So I am more confident that Iran will be cold and calm in plotting its moves, its retaliation. It's now 9:47 and lampasan ko pa lang 9:45. So i-ano na natin yung raffle natin. Let's see if we have many names that are good and the colors look very good. So let's spin for the book of the late General Victor Corpus. And let's see. Is this a new name? Algalang again. Algalang, i-donate mo na muna ito. Donate mo na muna. Mag-spin po. Naka-4 na o 5 panalo na si Algalang. Kaya let's spin again. Let's spin again. Kakusapin ko na lang si Kapunsang Algalang. We'll treat him to breakfast or lunch or dinner na lang. Okay, let's hope a new name, a new name, a new name, a new name. Michael Chan. I think this is the first time winner si Michael Chan. Taga saan si Michael Chan? Sampaloc, Maynila. Okay, Michael Chan won the book DMAC points about hybrid wars, and of course we'll add the supplement that addendum that General Victor Corpus sent to us lately. Okay, let's go on with other international developments. So ito po, follow through doon sa report kanina. US preparing for significant Iran attack on the US or Israeli assets in the region as soon as next week. So we will see, and we will see if World War III will start next week. Of course, we're hoping that things calm down. I think Iran will be more calm and cool about this. But there will be a retaliation. Nobody really knows what it will be. In the meantime, I think this is the last item ba? Germany is calling for the return of conscription, meaning uutos na sila ng pagsali po sa military sa mga mamamayan nila, sa mga citizens nila. This is according to Boris Pistorius, the German defense minister. So mukhang hindi po nagle-let up itong war momentum sa Europa, sa Middle East, and we don't know if the Americans can really still trigger the war, the proxy war they want in the South China Sea. Pero kung proxy war lang tulad ng Ukraine, kayang gawin po ng Estados Unidos yan. Ang mamamatay tuloy naman, ang mamamatay naman po ay hindi Amerikano. Ang masisirang ekonomiya hindi American economy. Instead, mabubuhay pa nga lalo yung kanilang defense industry. Pero ang Pilipinas po will go down the drain. Okay, it's now 9:50. We have 10 minutes to the end of our program and discussion. And let me review the discussion threads, the comments. While Kaado can come in anytime he wants to add to our discussion. Let me see. Yes, go ahead.
I have this strange feeling while we are making a rundown of all this balita. na baka yung third atomic bomb, yung third nuclear bomb sa Israel bumagsak with this kind of provocation. Alam mo, itong mga Muslim, ano ito hindi natatakot mamatay itong mga ito. But is Israel prepared? Meron siyang dome, meron siyang defense dome. Nakalimutan ko yung tawag nga sa defense shield.
Patriot, the Patriot missiles, no? Iron Dome.
Iron Dome, no? Sigurado ba siya na it will be from the air? You know? Sa nakita natin sa 911 hindi naman talaga babagsak yung yung Twin Towers kung walang bomba rin na pinasabog doon sa pundasyon ng building. So it was a confluence of yung nangyari sa 911. It was a confluence of an optic effect of an airplane ramming into a building. But the structure of that building will not collapse on the basis of just that. It had to be some kind of detonation happening in its very foundation, in its very bowels. Hindi nakakasiguro ang Israel na yan, because may nuclear bomb na ngayon. Isang attache case lang, kasa na So anyway, what I'm trying to say is the world has gone really from mere geopolitics into a semblance of the real battle between good and evil. Now, as to who is good and as to who is evil, bahala na kayo. Basta kami dito, we will stay as close as possible to the truth. Kami po dito, pag nag-cite kami ng source, just as Harry Roque was doing, we get it from existing documents. Hindi sabi ng US Indo-Pacific Command. No way. We do not quote here opinions of other people that do not confluence with a factual reference. Kaya dati, umiiwas tayo sa debate within the arbitral award, Mentong, because we were on the Rosario Manalo principle that the entire arbitral proceedings was a sham, was non-binding, etc. But when these people started cherry-picking on UNCLOS and on the arbitral award itself, and creating a box, a toolbox for their communications disinformation, the situation forced us to go inside that box and argue from the viewpoint of the arbitral award itself. For the sake of argument, we granted that. O ngayon, wala silang mahiharap dyan. Sino ang inihaharap nila? Si Heydarian? Itong mga ad hominem personality attacks or at boculum use of key government cabinet members, pati presidente ginamit na nila sa information war nila. Hindi naman nagbabasa itong presidente na ito, hindi na yata nag-aaral. So nawawala na ng control and reason talaga. And when push comes to shove, I don't think Iran will achieve anything by any conventional retaliation on Israel on this issue. I mean, it will not behave like China behaved when its embassy was bombed. Saan ba yun? Sa Libya ba yun?
So Yugoslavia, Belgrade.
Yugoslavia? Hindi yan.
Yeah.
And if they do that to China now, it will not behave in the same way it behaved in the Yugoslavian war, because when you use nuclear bomb, that means annihilation, and you may not be able to make your own retaliation. So it will all be a preemptive attack. And since the Americans are coming in drones, displaying their old weapons dito sa Clark Air Base at sa Subic ngayon, they've been landing there. Parang may parang may military trade fair nangyayari ngayon sa Subic at Clark in preparation for a military exercises as a prelude to the signing of the Trilateral Act. Napakagaling ho ng Amerikano sa ganyan. Ipi-precondition muna nila ang sitwasyon, saka silang gagawa ng kabalintunan. And I hope that we are on the surviving end of history. Being an archipelago, marami tayong choices. But I hate to see, again, 1 million Filipinos killed during the Japanese occupation, and more than 200,000 Filipinos killed during the American occupation. We do not deserve that from our president, bringing us to the fringes of war. And so, something's got to give, Mentong, because when a moving object hits an immovable force, something has to give, and definitely it is not the country. It will have to be the president. So I don't know how long he will be playing games with us, but this is no longer between US and China. The way it is laying out, it is already the people of the Republic of the Philippines against the existing government. And since we are not parliamentary, we will have to do some replacements in more creative ways. That is the challenge now that the people are facing. Because you cannot send a hungry army representing a hungry population to fight a war. And if the palace, if the defense department and the foreign affairs department think that China will land boots on the ground in the Philippines, kasi bakit? Lahat ng Balikatan nandiyan sa beachhead eh. They're preparing. Marami silang missiles na dinala, anti-tank. Jesus Christ, the Chinese will not even land a single tank on Philippine soil. Mga kabansa, huwag kayong umasa na may mga dadayong mga Chino dyan because they don't have to. Sasampulan lang tayo niya ng isang preemptive attack, isang EDCA site, and if we don't stop on all the 9 EDCA sites, tatahimik na ho tayo. We will cower in fear because the damage will come from the air. It will not come from the land or the sea. Comment.
Okay, well, it's exactly 10 a.m. na now. Tapos na po ang oras natin. There are so many new names that I see. I will try to list them down after the show. Yung ating video po, kung na-post na ata ni Kadyo, so those who are interested, you can take a look at it. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you very much for sharing. Thank you very much for spreading the word. Marami pong mga nagpapasalamat dito sa mga impormasyon na nakuha nila. May mga simpatya from EJ Rojas, vocalist, rest in peace po. Victor Corpus, my sympathies. There are new names, Chrissy Brooks, Tony Amor, and so many others. But we have no more time. We'll see you again Wednesday po. And we will try to schedule by Wednesday night ang ating meet and greet. Sa Cubao po siguro. We'll give you the place and time soon. At the same time, yung mga utang na mga libro na hindi po na-deliver tulad po nung libro ni Mauro Samonte para kay Al Galang kasi he willingly donated his winning today but he's requesting us to make sure we deliver. Well, we'll hand deliver it to you, Mr. Al Galang, kasi mukhang may ano sa pipeline, sa delivery pipeline na may problema. We'll fix it up. Maraming salamat po. We have no more time. It's 10:01. We'll see you again very soon. Take care po sa mga araw na darating and keep discussing with your friends, relatives, and colleagues these issues that we may fight back against Inquirer, Philippine Star, ANC, TV5, and all the US proxies in the country. Mabuhay and have a good week ahead of you.